due to the storms that was responsible for the damage at its Durban Heights water treatment plant that has led to water shortages across the city and surrounds. Meanwhile, mop-up operations are underway in Umlazi, Ethekwini, following widespread incidents of looting overnight. Several retail outlets, including Shoprite U-Save and Boxer, were left completely empty this morning. For more on the story, let's cross live to our environmental reporter, Nozintombi Miya. Nozintombi, a very good day to you. What's the latest from where you are?
Thank you so much, Desiree. I mean, it's been utter chaos and devastation on the roads in KwaZulu-Natal. We've had to move from Umlazi because large parts of the roads there were now being cordoned off by taxi marshals, Metro Police, as well as some of the independent businesses around there as they try and pull themselves together and get in proper cranes and proper trucks to try and start moving away the debris. So what we've done is we've widened our circle. We've moved now to Shellcross next to Chatsworth, where we heard that some of the houses, the foundations, the walls, boundary walls had fallen and crumbled as a result of the sheer force of the flooding. And we're standing here in one of those houses that were affected. And I'm just going to ask my camera colleague, Kwazi, to pan and just sort of give you an idea of what it looks like. Now, many of these houses are on the slope of a hillside. And you can see that as the force of the water and the flooding came down from Monday, the boundary walls started falling off because the force of that water was just simply too much. It's left some of the houses without back porches, without back rooms, without back boundary walls. There is no water in this community because the water treatment center is not able to access water to them. So they are lucky for now that they do still have access to electricity, but they're concerned and they're worried that their electricity will also be cut off because network again has been an issue. Network again has been a concern. Driving in and out of the roads leading from Umlazi to any part of the coastal parts of KZN has taken almost an hour just to be able to get out from the N2 to join different parts of the highway. And this is what people are experiencing. They're experiencing this sheer inconvenience of firstly not being able to physically drive to a nearby place to access water because traffic is so bad. Them relying on being able to at least keep the lights on and have electricity, even though network is a problem. So they've had to go house to house, form community forums, form community meetings to be able to help each other collect water from one place to the other place. Again, the same concerns that we're hearing from the people and the communities on the ground in Umlazi about there not being sufficient assistance from the municipality. No water tankers out in the streets as were promised. Not sufficient government officials coming in, local councillors, ward councillors coming in to check on the people. And people are concerned, people are worried. The traffic is absolute chaos. The highway is barely controlled. The police are stretched thin and people are getting desperate. Desiree.
And I asked you this question earlier, and I'm going to ask it again, that caution from the South African Weather Service about more storms coming. Do we have an idea of what forward planning is being done to respond to this eventuality? Yeah,
you know, Desiree, again, the issue of people's concern that they are hearing from the Weather Service that there is more rain that's forecast. But on the ground, the officials are not coming in, local councillors, the local leaders are not coming in and giving people suggestions on what to do. Like a community like this that's on a slope right now, they have not been given any alternatives as to what should happen and where they should go if further torrential rain comes through from tomorrow. They will literally be stuck inside the house at the mercy of the elements, at the mercy of the rising flood water, without access to network, with spotty electricity and days of no access to water, and a struggle for them to be able to navigate out of the area to find a place that has a nearby water tanker or water station. And it was quite interesting. In the hour or so that we spoke, Greenpeace Africa released a report talking about their concern about how the impact of climate change, the direct impact that we're seeing of climate change that it's had in KZN. And they're saying that they already raised red flags from as early as December, and they had requested government to intervene now, imminently. And now the situation has spiraled to such an extent where government is now doing damage control as opposed to being at the forefront, leading and guiding and directing communities that to a large extent feel that they are leaderless or rudderless and have nowhere to turn other than to form communities themselves to hope that they can band together in this extremely difficult and confusing times to be able to get basic necessities such as access to fresh water. Desiree.
Nozintombi, are we getting a sense that officials, including the municipality, are not responsive or they're overwhelmed? Which is it?
We certainly are getting the sense that they're overwhelmed. We do know that the president was on the ground. He had boots on the ground in KZN yesterday. We do know he was with the premier as well as with high-ranking government officials. But the state or the extent to which the devastation has been wrought has made the capacity that's there from government officials spread thin. There are communities from the northern, the southern, the central, coastal parts of KZN that all need access to water. They need access to electricity. Their homes are destroyed. They have a problem with being able to access roads, and the capacity that's there from officials is the little bits that they can do. They're probably going from the most severe places to the least severe places, but the pace at which that's happening is so extremely slow. It is adding to the frustration. It is fueling the fire. This is why we're seeing the looting happening in different places. We were told earlier when we're in Umlazi that the looting that was seen at Boxer and the U-Save store, those are just precursors to what they anticipate would happen as the desperation of the people gets more and more heightened, and as the weather starts to get worse and worse, and we're seeing more torrential downfalls, and we're seeing the slow response from government officials or from their local leaders. So it seems as though the situation is certainly going to get worse before it gets better. And I really wonder at this point whether or not local leaders have the capacity to move effectively and quickly to quell what we're seeing, which is a further humanitarian disaster. Desiree.
Nozintombi, thank you so much for bringing us the latest from KZN, and we'll continue to watch your updates. But just to remind our viewers of the events that took place in the past few days. There you see footage coming in from KZN of what happened in the past few days, and the death toll currently sitting at more than 300, and more numbers expected to come through. But these are live pictures that are coming through as we look at the situation in KwaZulu-Natal, looking at what has been taking place there. The floods experienced in KwaZulu-Natal classified as a provincial disaster. The head of the National Disaster Management Centre yesterday saying that in terms of Section 23 of the Disaster Management Act 2002, classified floods experienced in KwaZulu-Natal were classified as a provincial disaster. The classification of the floods as a provincial disaster follow the recommendation and assessments done by the Provincial Disaster Management Centre on the magnitude and severity of the impact of the severe weather events occurring in KZN that resulted in the loss of life and damage to property, infrastructure and the environment as a result of heavy rains, flooding, strong winds and landslides. The Disaster Management Act Section 40 read with sections 23 designates the primary responsibility to coordinate and manage this disaster in terms of existing legislation and contingency arrangements to the provincial executive. Accordingly, all state organs have been urged to further strengthen support to existing structures to implement contingency arrangements and ensure that measures are put in place to enable the KZN province to effectively deal with the effects of this disaster. Earlier on, power utility